There are some basic things that people without money just don't get it. And some of these habits are keeping them poor and will continue to do so. That doesn't mean it's impossible to break the cycle, but it's helpful to understand how you may be sabotaging your financial future in order to avoid making the same mistakes again. Since we know many of you are well on your way to financial success, we've put together a list of things that are guaranteed to put you into the realm of mediocrity. All of this information needs to be taken with a grain of salt, and understand that these posts are here to make you think about your situation and what you can do to change your lot in life. In order to have a more complete and relevant list for you, we have consulted with our mentors and friends to get an insider look of what poor and rich people have in common in their day-to-day lives. Not everyone follows these rules, which can make things more difficult, not just for themselves, but for others. Furthermore, being aware of these habits and ways of living could provide you with an advantage. What if you quit doing this and manage to get a step closer to that goal you've been striving for? Here are the 15 things poor people do that the rich don't. Number 1, one of the reasons why poor people watch so much TV is because poor people have more time. Reality TV is always a choice for people with a lot of spare time. It's one of those distractions that catches your attention and refuses to let go. If you know the weekly scoop on what celeb is dating who, and if you're watching shows religiously every week as the new episodes come out, unless you enjoy watching your favorite news station, it's a good idea to spend less time watching television. That's why your life is like what it is. To clarify, gossip in the so-called news can provide you with no positive impact in your life. They're all bunch of if I can't be famous, then no one can be famous people. Plus, people want to be famous and rich for some reason, which means TV is only for people with money, and if I want to be entertained, I watch Big Bang Theory, which is one of the most comical sitcoms on the air. The problem is you disconnect from your problems and hope they'll solve themselves. Though there are instances when, as the words of John Lennon put in, time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. You should also carefully think about it. Watching a screen, for example, may not be the most rewarding activity. In order to fully explain what we meant by having a favorite news channel, we need to cover what we mean by the first thing that poor people do. Some people would say that the only good reason to watch TV is to keep up with the current events. Knowledge. The downside to this is that television stations are always biased in order to support their own point of view. In order to fix this, however, it would be best to rely on the internet as a quick and easy way to find out what the world is like. Let's move on to point number 2, that poverty and fast food consumption are related. Health is really important, and a lot of people who are considered to be less fortunate are not at all interested in understanding what's in their food. For instance, they can't describe an actual healthy meal or barely have a knowledge about nutrition. The underprivileged are actively harming their bodies by dumping too much sugar and fat with no nutritional value. The deleterious effects hinder their capacity to be successful. In other words, when you're unhealthy, every aspect of your life suffers. Physically, mentally, professionally, and even romantically. Number 3, poor people buy clothes or products that are on sale. Let me put it this way, the only thing you should buy on sale are stocks. While poor people are looking to conserve or stretch the little that they have, the rich are focused on increasing their incomes. Just think about it. The clothes that end up on sale are the ones that people who could afford to pay full price didn't want. By buying clothes on sale, you're just making sure that you're looking exactly like someone who can't afford to pay full price. Number 4, research has shown that in their early years, poor people tend to sleep later and be lazier than those who are wealthy. In spite of what many of you might think, the statistics have it that some of you will be deeply offended by this last sentence. Growing your talents as a youth is a lot less likely to end up impoverished later in life. On the other hand, if you fall into slothful habits, never have an education, have wasted your time on irrelevant activities, you'll end up at the end so far behind the expectations of the world that you'll live a regretful life. It's a paradox that those people who don't focus on personal growth early are always in the race to simply keep their head above the water, as seen in Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett, who all started up early. Reason number 5 is that there are a lot of people that don't make much money that are really into sports. The truth is, if you're not a professional athlete, when you watch TV, you're allowing yourself to imagine your reality outside of what's happening right now. Imagine like this, as an individual, you're making no difference to the outcome of the game. You have zero impact. Doing this will just stick with you, and before you know it, you will be a spectator in life instead of an active participant or someone who owns what they do. When you notice this in yourself, then you will criticize others who are in the same boat. Our sixth stat proved to be one of the more unexpected ones, as we believed at first that this was simply an arbitrary fact that didn't hold any water. Nevertheless, we can say that it is actually accurate. Plus, if you really think about it, this provides a great deal for understanding. Today, the vast majority of the workforce are in service industries, with direct human contact being required in order to reach positive transactions of goods and services. When it comes to a successful life, those who don't care about personal hygiene will likely do worse than those who do. In other words, people trust them less. They want to spend less time in each other's presence, and all of this has consequences for their personal lives. So if people don't like and don't want to be around you, what kind of partners will you attract? If you answer the previous question correctly, it may give you a hint about your answer. At first, it might seem irritational, but one must take an early morning shower if you want to succeed. Number 7. Poor people blame others for their misfortunes. How many people do you know who blame others and circumstances for not being successful? Always remember that you are in charge for your life, and your success is in your hands. Number 8. Poor people have no money saved. Having money put aside makes room for growth. You should always put on your savings for urgent things. This is a must. The ninth reason why poor people get in debt is due to their credit card use or borrowing loans for pointless things. One of the main difference between rich and poor is the way they use credit. What the rule states is that if you buy something and have to take out a loan, make sure that the value of the object purchased is greater than the loan taken out to pay for it. That's all it takes. Use credit only if what you'll be using it for is an investment. Should you want to get a loan for that new TV or for that new expensive Supreme gear, you probably shouldn't. In case you didn't know, you should refrain from using your credit card to buy the new iPhone, unless you're willing to flip it for profit or are going to build a new app for your business. These things shouldn't be bought with credit. Instead, buy them when you have the money and use cash. On number 12, you'll find out more about this. Number 10, wealthy people tend to have fewer children than those who are not so well off. Truth be told, kids are very expensive. I think we can all agree that making them is a fun exercise, as long as you're not actually going to make one. Nevertheless, people remain stuck up to this point. They don't believe that it's true. A concrete example is that if you're raising a child, the expense will probably run somewhere around $250,000. That is, a family of low income might have 4 children by the time the parents are in their early 30s. While rich people who can't be too anxious about finances are likely to wait until they have enough in the bank before having kids. Those without money don't give up. As soon as the baby arrives, the hard work of making enough to go beyond mere survival is all but impossible. Number 11, poor people are not reliable about checking with their doctors. We've discussed the importance of health before, but I really want to stress this point. Most people fail to see doctors regularly, which means by the time you happen to be diagnosed with a tough illness like cancer, it's too late. If you visit the doctor on a regular basis, you can catch cancer before it's advanced. The treatment is less expensive and more effective if you discover it early on. On the other hand, if you do not, the treatment will be too expensive and the disease will be far worse if you catch it later. Ultimately, sickness will drain both you and your entire family of funds, and no matter how much money you have, you will probably still lose. Number 12, poor people spend their money as soon as they get it. One of the biggest risks in life is spending money before you have it. The moment you start borrowing money or acquiring new expenses, your life will start spiraling downward. If you don't have money for something you're willing to give up for it without really changing your life, then you can't afford it. Return to work and save up for it. 13. Poor people are being surrounded by other poor people. One of the reasons that some people stay poor is because of who they're friends with. It's important to be surrounded by people who are at the same stage of their lives or careers as you. With this group of peers, you will be motivated to improve yourself. Don't be afraid to take a break from others and pursue something better for yourself. It will prevent those around you from coming into your life and wreaking havoc with your livelihood in an effort to make themselves feel better. Number 14. Poor people never follow through on their ideas or potential. You're unable to control who your parents are, where you were born, or the way society treats you. However, you can control the hours you put it into your dream. There are only 24 hours in every day, but some people manage to do a lot in a single day. The more that you invest yourself in understanding and practicing more about what you're passionate about, the sooner you'll achieve success. Take the time to craft a coherent idea. Have the confidence to put it out there. Then fix it and launch it again and again and again. On number 15, poor people believe that someone should give them a hand so they can rise to the top. Life is not fair. The world doesn't owe you anything. Unfortunately, no one is going to get you out of this by themselves. You're the one who controls what happens in your life. Unfortunately, when you're young, it seems like it's possible to be successful. Then the reality of this cruel world becomes clear. The world only rewards the best. Not everyone. If you keep learning, adapting, and understanding that nobody can solve your problems for you and face challenges on, you may meet other people who also understand this way of thinking and will accompany you on your journey. Though this video may have been long, we hope it helped in your personal journey. If you know someone who does any of these 15 things, please help them by showing them this video. It is of our interest to know, do you believe that poor people do these things which rich people don't? What else should be on this list? Tell us in the comments. I wonder why you're still here. Interesting. Despite all this, you're still here. So here's your bonus fact. Religious devotion is greater among poor people than it is among wealthy people. Can you picture it if we start the video with this one? The fact is, successful people rely on their own efforts for their well-being, while poor people hope for an imaginary force to somehow reward them for being a good person. For example, presidents or CEOs may refer to God in their speeches, but it is not accurate to say that they are really religious. A wonderful example is Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, who for most of his life was an atheist, but because he may be entering politics in the near future, he switched his views. Thank you for watching, subscribe, like, and comment.